23 minutes after the hour. Welcome back to the Daily Buzz. Okay, so we told you the story about the Massachusetts family that was kicked off an AirTran flight because their 3-year-old daughter threw a tantrum and refused to take her seat. Well, we're still talking about it. The question is, did the airline go too far by kicking the screaming child off the flight? Or are the parents to blame for not controlling their child? Well, our ScreamFree therapist, Hal Runkle, is here with his thoughts on the situation. Of course, we had to have you talk about this.
Yeah.
Good morning, Chief. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you
and I actually talked about this before I took my holiday trip with the kids, and you were saying, look, you can't blame a parent if their baby is crying because the baby doesn't understand.
Right.
It's hard, you know, for the parent to control that. But what do you think in this situation?
3-year-old, man, this has caused a lot of stir.
Yeah,
Everybody's
it has
talking
caused
about this situation, you know, and I think it's a lot because we've all been parents, and all of us parents who have flown with kids have been there, and it is embarrassing, and you feel everyone's eyes on you, you know, but it's also an embarrassing situation for the flight attendant because they're like, oh, you gotta go, you know, gotta go. Obviously, AirTran and the airlines have drawn a line. They're 2 years old. You have to have your own seat, and you now have to have some measure of your own control, right? So the parents wanted to be able to hold because they could have control, right? Right. I want to be able to hold, but that legally wasn't going to happen.
Well, they were trying to console her for 15 minutes. Right. You know, and the flight was already 15 minutes behind because they were waiting on, the airlines were waiting on the child to calm down.
Here's why I think the airline did the right thing.
Okay.
In choices, I talk about in my book, there's space and place. There is room to make your own decision, but there are parameters around that decision. So the airline said, look, you have a choice. You can put the child in the seat and lock her down. You can leave the plane. But the time frame for that decision is now.
Gotcha.
That it ended after 15 minutes. Well, I think that's the exact same situation we give to our kids. Look, you have a choice. You can sit in this seat the easy way, which is on your own, or you can sit in this seat the hard way, which is me pressing you down like we've all done in the car seat where our kids do the stiff as a board thing, you know, and we're pressing down on their pelvis, you know, and lock them down. Yeah. But that's the choice. You have easy way or hard way, and here's the time frame.
So the airlines had to do what they had to do.
They had to do.
That's bottom line.
So
the parents should have said either I'm going to sit you down here or voluntarily walk off?
That's their choice.
Okay. So you're thinking the parents should not have waited
because they have a responsibility to all the passengers on the plane.
Who does?
As well.
The airline.
The airline does. But I believe also the passengers do. We have a responsibility to everyone to do what we're supposed to do to keep the flight safe. Okay, so airline was right in kicking them off. That's basically what I don't think they should call it kicking them off. That's the big thing.
Removing them from the plane?
Removing them, yes. But they had to. Again, here's a choice, here's another choice, here's the time frame to make that choice. Now it's up to you. What
does this say about parenting in general in 2007 when it seems like kids are the ones who are the parents?
Driving the boat. Absolutely. And it's not really the kids driving the boat, it's our anxiety about the kids that are driving the boat. I don't want to maybe upset them, I don't want to maybe damage them, I just want to keep things, and there's natural anxiety in parenting. It's incredibly difficult.
Yeah, because there's no right or wrong way to do it.
Right. But it is our job to calm ourselves down in order to make tough decisions with our kids that are best for them and for us and for society around us.
Sounds good to me. Thank you. For more information